In electional, you said earlier, house 1 is the seller, house 7 is the buyer.
Yes.
House 4 is
the value of the house, the true value of the
true
house.
value.
The actual value of the house. So if you had Venus and Scorpio in the 4th house, the house is just crappy.
The 4th house is the actual value?
The actual value, yes ma'am.
Is the 5th house then what it sells for?
No, actually the 10th house tells you the value, and the 5th house is once you own it, what you plan to get back from it. That's the hopeful return. The 10th house and the 11th house are the actual sale figure, because you're going to tell the 7th house that this house is really bitching. There's nothing wrong with it, well, with a few exceptions. The basement floods and needs plumbing, and of course the roof's going to have to need a repair. Well, the garage is falling down. Other than that, it's perfect.
But when you do electional to find out what's the best time to put it on the market.
Now you're talking about a lot of work. Electional charts, I will not do one for less than $800. Because you're talking, I have to look at your birth chart. I have to find out what your 4th house ruler is. I have to find out if you sell it. It has to be very, very compatible with your own 4th house in order for you to get the best money. I have to have both lights above the horizon, and I have to have the buyer very willing to take it. That's what an electional chart is on selling a house.
So you keep running the thing into the future until those conditions were there.
Check,
oh
check,
man.
Check. Sometimes it takes 2-3 hours just to figure out an area. Sometimes your client will be very nice to you and say, you know, I think I'd like to sell my house in July. Oh, well, now all I have to do is run those 30 days and see how they match with the client's birth chart. Now, you remember the gal, remember Jason that came here? His mother wanted to sell the house. We did not know her birth time, but we knew she was a Gemini. So what I did is I made the sale of the house, I cast the time of the chart to put the house up for sale with her son on the ascendant.
Her son.
So the house went on the ascendant in Gemini. She was a Gemini. So we put the house in Gemini on the ascendant.
Yeah.
When she listed it, on that listing. And what I did is I put the buyer, the 7th house, in the 9th house. And I said, you'll probably get somebody from another land to buy it.
What do you mean by both lights above the horizon?
Sun and moon.
Sun and moon?
Yes, ma'am. Sun and moon.
When you said...
And they need to be, see, I'm sorry, let me finish.
I thought you were looking at me to...
What you need to do is have the electional chart be literally a marriage chart. So you want both the day something is going to happen, work with the natal chart as well. This is what you're trying to do. You're setting up an electional, and it literally is a marriage chart between you and the seller. And you want those 2 days to be totally as harmonious as possible. And if you can get the concept of what it is you're working with, a business, a sale of a home, a marriage, or whatever it is, you want that rulership as close to an angle as you can get it, because the angle is way out here.
So you mean the 2 charts being the natal chart and the day it happens?
Yeah, the day you'd like, let's say you're going to start a beauty business, okay? I would want my natal chart. I want to see where my Venus is. Why do I want a beauty business? And will it be successful? Well, I have a nice trine to Mars. Well, that's a good from Venus to Mars. Well, that's a good beauty business chart right off the bat. Yeah, you have a penchant for beauty business. Now I see if I can make this chart, put Venus in the 10th house in a very good place, Pisces hopefully. Cancer's nice, not Scorpio, you know. Unless people come in from the streets that need not only a shampoo but a bath, you know. But you put all these things together, and then you want it to harmonize with the birth chart. So you want both lights above the horizon. You want the 7th house strong, so the customers will come in. See, all these things has got to be figured out in doing an electional. The best way to do it is put the thing on the market when the day you're working it is in close harmony to your own personal birth chart. Chances are success there are in the 80% level.
So you look at the transits in terms of your natal chart?
Yes, you do.
So what would be the harmonious things like Sun trine Sun, or
anything trine or sextile? That's as easy
Jupiter?
as it gets.
Jupiter.
You'll get it with a square, and you'll get it, you know,
Yeah.
with a semi-square even. You'll get it with an opposition, but the person may not want to pay, you know, you gotta argue that thing, go to court, blah, blah, blah. You know, so the opposition is the worst thing you want to deal with anything. But if you can get a, you know, if you can get a conjunction, trine, sextile, or even square, it comes. But the square promises a wrestling match, because one house or the other is in act when you have a square, not both.
So say today when there's an exact trine between Mars and the Sun,
Beautiful.
would be a great,
Yeah,
That's
if
very
you're gonna do
fortunate.
something Martian.
What do you mean by third combust? Does that mean when the sun's close to something?
Where the planet is moving into the sun, into the sun's beam by 17 degrees.
The ruler of the third,
The
right?
ruler of whatever house it is you're calling. So in this case, it'd be the third house.
The
You had a
ruler of the
question?
third house?
Combust meaning how many degrees apart?
17 to 8 are under the beams.
Oh. And what happens
Under
if
the
it's-
sun's beams. It's starting to burn out, hard to see. Just hard to see.
And if it's conjunct?
But when it goes into the, when it goes combust, it means it's between 8 degrees and conjoin the sun. That 8 degrees is combust. You cannot see it. You cannot see a planet that's conjoined the sun. That's the idea.
8 or less?
8 or less to 8 to the
Is
conjunction.
considered combust.
That's
What-
considered combust.
What's the other one that's 17 or closer?
That's under the beams.
Oh, I see.
Still hard to see, but somewhat visible.
Uh-huh.
Back to the electional, you said 80% of the time if you run a transit for a particular day, and that transit chart for that day at that place would, if it married to the seller's natal chart and it was good, then that's 80%.
80% chance it's going to move. Yeah. It takes a bit of doing. You had a question?
Yeah, so when you say a planet going combust in the third house, it could be any planet or? you
No,
said-
it's not combust in the third house. It's the third house ruler. So if Gemini was the ruler of the third house, then Mercury combust would tell us something. If Sagittarius was the third house ruler and Jupiter was conjoining the sun, that would be a combust situation. Any planet near the sun, 8 degrees from its center, is considered any planet. So it's just not only the third house. If you found somebody you really fell in love with, and his ascendant was his ruler was combust your sun in the chart, well, that'd be kind of like not a good situation because he's in love with himself here. So you know that would not work well for you. So any planet can be combust and anywhere in the chart, just within 8 degrees of conjunction. Wait. Go.
Arthur, which house do you look at? If I sell my house, how much money will I make? Is that,
I look at the 11th house because that's how much I want. Okay, I'm willing to reduce the money to the second house because the second house is what you get.
the second house? Is
Your personal second house is what you'll get because that's what you're going to put in the bank. But what you want is the 11th house. If it's strong by dignity, you'll get what you want. If it's weaker by dignity, then look at the second house and see who's the stronger of that. I mean, it's a matter of juggling. Whose money is it when it comes into your pocket? Your second
Yours.
house is now under your stewardship. See? It's their money until they give it to you. But if that house has got the value that they like, if you got a nice sextile between 7 and 10, then that sextile is going to tell you they really like the house. So that's going to tell you what they're going to do with it. So the 11th house is probably what you get. If they have a nice strong 8th house, second for them, you see what I'm doing?
Yeah.
You really got to juggle this and see who's doing what. Nothing in astrology is hit with an axe or nailed with a hammer.
But
It's
who-
all about trying to get the dang boat floating on a rather rough sea and getting your sea legs so you can pretty much get your bearings. This is what astrology is. And it's going to give you something, not do anything, or take something away from you. That's the rule.
So what do you get in your hands at the final bank?
The
after
final
selling the house and all
sale
that?
is probably the second house.
Second house.
But if the 7th and the 10th are in harmony, strong harmony, trine or sextile, you'll get the 11th house value, because that's going to be the value by the 10th. It gets convoluted with a house. This is the biggest problem, because you got four rulers now instead of just 2. So, but you gotta figure who's doing what and where they fit. A lot of times you'll look at the 7th house and the ruler of, of their money, the 8th, sucks. It's in detriment. Well, they're just wasting your time. Tell them to go away. Because they don't have the money to make the deal, no matter how much they love the house. Okay? Right now, Mars is in Virgo, the small sign. Okay, so if you have, say, Libra in the 7th house, that looks good. We go, oh wow, Venus is with Saturn, and this looks like a good deal. But you look at Scorpio, and you see that Scorpio's ruler Mars is in Virgo. Oh,
They're not gonna get one.
they don't have the money. It's too small. They're going to try to talk you down in price, and it's in their 12th house, counting from the 7th. That's, you know, the 6th and the 12th and the 7th. So now you're going to get that. It's all in the juggle. There's no nail that you can hang the tapestry on. Any place in this wall is a good place to hang the tapestry. Now, designing where the tapestry is going to go, how it fits with that and this and these and those, that's what you're doing. You're learning to be sleuths, detectives. You're learning to look at every little thing you can possibly think of in order to pull the chart to life.
I just want to clarify, you said with the house business that the first house is the seller, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's the person asking the question.
No, no, in
First
this
house,
case,
if the person wants to buy a house and says, I need to buy a house, is it worth it? Well, now the buyer is the first house.
Oh, okay.
So it depends on who's asking the question as to who
It's
the
the
first house
person who
will
asked the
represent.
question
Oh.
is the first
Will
house.
always be, yeah, will always be the first house. And they get the ruler of the ascending sign plus the moon. The ascending sign ruler is their head, the moon is their heart,
Right here.
their emotional input.
Okay, the ascendant is the heart, ascendant ruler is the heart,
Head.
is the head.
The ascendant ruler is the head, how they think of the matter.
Okay,
The moon position is the heart, how they feel about the matter.
okay,
The first house is always the querent. It's the person who asks the question.
okay.
And if it deals with houses, are you in real estate?
No,
Okay, but if it
I've
deals,
taken real estate classes, but,
if it deals with houses, then what it means is that you're going to be talking to who? The person across the room from you, the 7th house. You want to know what they're going to do. So it's a 1-7 situation. Your home is always the 4th house. Your home is the 4th house. You see your home for what it actually is. That's why it's the actual value. So that's the actual value of the home, because you know. They don't. So they have a perceived value, which is the 10th house. And you want the perceived value in the seller to harmonize, so they go, oh yeah, man, this is what I wanted. And the husband's going, yeah, but the